Healthy trees can provide big dividends. Increase property values, beautify a space, purify the air, and provide cooling shade in the hot summer months. But when a storm arrives, trees and limbs can be one of our worst enemies. Here's more from Payne's Tree Service.
One of the great things, we're very lucky that there are a lot of off-duty firemen working. When the disaster hits, we're first on scene for the recovery mission. That requires a lot of certification, annual updates from third parties, proper use on rope and rigging. It was amazing to me when we first started how much detail went into rope care. I mean, every time you touch one, you have to have a log all filled out. It's all OSHA standard. And we try and bring what we've learned there over to the tree service side with all the maintenance that's required, OSHA regulation, all the safety stuff that's required. And that's good for you, because when you got somebody working over your house, and even if they are properly insured, you don't want to go through the hassle of having some damage done. Everything we do, we put double safeties on just to make sure that there's never going to be an issue where something could happen. If not, we're trying to make sure that we have the safeties in place so that we can alleviate some of that from happening. Just take a look at when they come out. Are they professional? Are they uniformed? Ask them a couple questions. What kind of tree are they cutting on? If they don't know what kind of tree they're cutting on, they probably shouldn't be cutting on it. Ask them what kind of equipment they're using. You want to take a look at their insurance. Make sure they're properly insured. Liability, workman's comp. If it's a big job that they're requiring money up front, they need to have a bond. They should be bonded if they're taking any money up front. And back to the equipment. A lot of times you got these guys that come in with these heavy trucks. It's going to really make a big rut in your yard. We come in with low ground compaction equipment. And what that means to you is when we pull in with a lift, we're not bringing a 30,000-pound bucket truck in. We have a man lift that we drive in that's remote operated. We have a track machine that carries the heavy logs out that has less ground pressure than an actual footprint does. So we try to do as best we can to eliminate any of the damage that could be done to your yard, fences, or anything else. Well, you want to take a look at your canopy, look at how dense it is. You want to make sure it's thinned out appropriately. And overpruning is bad too. And you have the guys come in what we call lion's tailing, basically making the tree look like a poodle. That's bad too. It also weakens the root structure. So having it properly pruned, just thinning it out a little bit so the wind can move through the canopy is what you want to look for. Also look up through the tree. If you see a lot of deadwood, that's a hazard. If somebody's walking underneath, who knows when it's going to fall, and when it does, you don't want to be underneath it.
So we've been working on this tree for about 2 months. Initially, when we were called out here by the Hughes, we looked at the tree and you could see how it was encroaching on the roof. And I had an idea of just cutting part of the roof back so we could save the tree, but when we had the roofer come out and take a look and actually get into the crawl space of the attic, the actual trusses had been bent and cracked from the tree leaning on the roof and for years of just pushing on that roof. So unfortunately to take it out, but there's so much involved here. We've got about 6 trucks, 2 front end loaders, 2 aerial devices sitting out here. When we first show up, there's so much involved in the prep work. This isn't something that you can just show up and think about doing on your own. You should hire a professional. As you can see, we're in such tight quarters here that basically all the tree has to be lifted up. The stuff that can't be hand carried is going to have to be lifted up and over with an aerial device or a crane. This makes it a lot harder.
We have a safety meeting every morning to go over our equipment and our vehicles. And every man's in charge of his own vehicle. He goes over each one, checks the fluid levels, and then we go to the saws, make sure that they're safe, like keeping the chains tight and the chain brake is working. And then we'll go over some of the equipment that Terry has, like the ASV loaders and New Holland loaders, to make sure they're all in safe working order and all the safety mechanisms are in place on those.
Now it's unfortunate that this thing has to come out. It's a beautiful grand live oak. It's a grand specification. Anything in the city of Tampa over 33 inches in diameter is grand. This is over double that size, which is unfortunate. But if you can take a look, we even had a structural engineer out here to take a look at this tree. It's actually growing and leaned through the framing of his house. He's unable to even get a roof put on, and he's leaking. So it's unfortunate we have to remove it, but the Hughes will be able to have a nice leak-free roof when we have this done. You can take a look at how the tree is growing. If someone would have had some corrective pruning done at an early stage, you probably could have corrected this problem. But as you can see, they just pruned on the side where the pool was and let the part in front of the house grow, and that way the weight was off balance, and therefore your tree growing slanted. The corrective pruning is one thing you can start at an early age of a tree to basically alleviate problems like this. Like I said, it's a beautiful grand oak, probably older than all of us here put together, and then it's just unfortunate that we have to remove it. But it's got a house that's encroaching on, and there's really no way to alleviate or fix this problem but a removal.
There's a great deal of skill involved in tree work. And when you just take a look at it, you probably think, I could probably do that. But one of the main things is who's going to haul the debris off? 2, who's going to do all your ropes? Who's going to be using the saw? Are they been trained to use a saw? Do they know how to tie their knots? Probably a good idea to have a professional come out and take a look at it for you. Well, unfortunately, after the storm, there are the ones that gamble and say, well, maybe we can make it another year, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. We've got all the equipment to get those trees off your home or down over your driveway or in your property. You can crane it off or whatever needs to happen. Also in the stump removal, a lot of times when you're going to build something, you have to remove a tree. A lot of guys will say, we'll just grind it for you. If you're going to be placing a structure over that tree, you're going to need to have it excavated. Just grinding a stump, what will happen is over time it will rot and cause a cavity, which will crack a pad, a concrete pad, especially if there's any weight on it.
Payne's Tree and Hauling has been serving Florida's Hillsborough and surrounding counties since 2002. Through their quality work, attention to detail, and prompt service, they have built a solid reputation for customer satisfaction. Their goal is to provide customers with the most professional, courteous service and quality work. Their services include artistic pruning, demolition services, excavations, grading and leveling, hazardous tree removal, stump and root grinding, and much more, including storm cleanup. Take the pain out of your big job by contacting Payne's Tree Service in Tampa or log on to painstrees.com for more information.